Hey everyone, this is SacredCards, and today I'm going to share with you my Witchcrafter deck profile. This deck was first released in the set Infinity Chasers and recently got some new support in Magnificent Mavens. It's one of my favorite decks, I love the artwork, and it's a lot of fun to play. Be sure to check out the other deck profiles on my channel. I've been trying to post as often as I can, and I'm constantly updating my decks. I'll go through the deck list here and try and explain the cards as best I can. With that said, let's get into the deck profile. Starting off with the bigger monsters, I play one copy of Madame Vere and one copy of Witchcrafter Golem Aruru. Madame Vere is the main boss monster. Quick effect, you can discard a spell to negate the effects of all monsters your opponent controls until the end of this turn. Also, if your spellcaster monster battles, you can reveal any number of spells with different names in your hand, increase its attack and defense by 1,000 for each card revealed until the end of the turn. Golem Aruru has a quick effect. When your opponent activates a card or effect that targets your spellcaster monster or targets it for an attack, target a card your opponent controls or Witchcrafter spell in your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand, then return the targeted card to the hand. During your opponent's standby phase, recycle this card back to your hand. For the other big Witchcrafters, I play two copies of Witchcrafter Hain and one copy of Witchcrafter Adele. When Witchcrafter Hain is on the field, your opponent cannot target other spellcaster monsters you control with card effects. Also, quick effect, you can discard a spell, then target a face-up card your opponent controls, destroy it. Witchcrafter Adele can quick effect, discard a spell, then special summon a Witchcrafter monster from your hand. Also, you contribute this card, then target a spellcaster monster in the graveyard and special summon it back to your field. Now for the Witchcrafter students, I play three copies of Witchcrafter Shmieta. All the smaller Witchcrafter monsters share the effect that during either player's main phase, quick effect, you contribute this card, then discard a spell to special summon any Witchcrafter monster from your deck. Shmieta can banish itself from the graveyard to send one Witchcrafter card from your deck to the graveyard. Next, I play three copies of Witchcrafter Jenny. You can banish this card and one Witchcrafter spell from the graveyard. This effect becomes that spell's effect. I play three copies of Witchcrafter Pator. You can banish this card from your graveyard to draw a card and then send one Witchcrafter card from your hand to the graveyard. You do have to be careful because if you have none, banish your entire hand, but you likely always will. Last of the Witchcrafter monsters, I like to play two copies of Witchcrafter Pottery. She's nice to have because if you have no cards in your hand, you can banish this card from the graveyard and then add a Witchcrafter spell from your graveyard back to your hand. That's it for the monsters. Now for the spells, starting off with your main searcher, three copies of Witchcrafter Creation. You can add a Witchcrafter monster from your deck to your hand, and all the Witchcrafter spells share the effect that if you didn't use the card's first effect, they can return themselves from the graveyard back to your hand during the end phase as long as you control a Witchcrafter monster. Next up, I play three copies of Witchcrafter Unveiling. This quick play spell that can special summon a Witchcrafter monster from your hand, and then if you do, for the rest of this turn, your opponent cannot activate cards in response to your spellcaster monster's effects. Now for the new spell from Magnificent Mavens, I play three copies of Witchcrafter Confusion Confession. You can fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Witchcrafter monster. For recovery, I play 3 copies of Witchcrafter Holiday. This is your monster reborn for the deck. You can target a Witchcrafter monster in your graveyard and special summon it. Now for the one-ofs, I like to play 1 copy of Witchcrafter Collaboration and 1 copy of Witchcrafter Draping. Collaboration can target a Witchcrafter monster you control. That card can make a second attack during the battle phase this turn. Also, if it attacks, your opponent can't activate spell or trap cards until the end of the damage step. Witchcrafter Draping is a quick play spell that can target spells and traps your opponent controls up to the number of Witchcrafter monsters you control and return them to the hand. Last, for the Witchcrafter spells, I play 2 copies of Witchcrafter Bystreet and 1 copy of Witchcrafter Scroll. These are continuous spells, and if their first effect wasn't used, they return themselves from the graveyard back to your field instead of the hand like the others. Witchcrafter Bystreet provides protection for the first time each Witchcrafter monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect. It is not destroyed. Also, if a Witchcrafter monster would discard a spell to activate an effect, you can send this card from the field to the graveyard instead. Witchcrafter Scroll has the effect of once per turn when your spellcaster monster destroys a monster by battle, you get to draw a card. And just like Bystreet, if a Witchcrafter monster would discard to activate an effect, you can send this card to the graveyard instead. Next, for consistency and draw power, I play 3 copies of Pot of Extravagance. This deck doesn't heavily rely on its extra deck, so it's nice to be able to banish some cards to draw into the ones you need. If you banish 6 cards from the extra deck, you get to draw 2 cards. Now for the one-ofs, I play 1 copy of Reasoning and 1 copy of Called by the Grave. Reasoning just might be my favorite card in the deck. This ages me a bit, but even back in 2003, I never built a deck without this card. Thankfully, it makes so much sense in this deck as it can potentially gain you a ton of card advantage. Your opponent calls out a monster level, and you excavate cards from the top of the deck until you hit a monster. If they called it right, send all cards that you excavated to the graveyard, but if not, you can special summon that monster. And all the spells you sent can return back to your hand at the end phase. Called by the Grave I find very necessary because if your Witchcrafter monster gets ashed or something, you are essentially out a monster and a spell card. It really hurts the deck, so this helps your plays go through. That's it for the spells. Now I play 2 traps in the deck. 1 copy of Witchcrafter Patronus and 1 copy of Witchcrafter Masterpiece. Patronus is a continuous trap that lets you target a spellcaster monster that is banished or in your graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck, then you can add a Witchcrafter spell from your deck to hand. Also, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish it to target any number of banished Witchcrafter spells with different names and add them back to your hand. Masterpiece can target a spell in either graveyard and add 1 card from your deck with the same name to your hand. Also, if this card is in the graveyard, during either player's turn, you can banish this card and any number of spells, special summon a monster from your deck with an equal level to the number of spells you banished. Well, that is it for the main deck. Now on to the extra deck. I don't really want to spend too much time on this part because you can really play whatever you want, especially if you play Extravagance like I do. The only card I really care about is the new boss monster from Magnificent Mavens, Witchcrafter Vice Madame. You can fuse her with any Witchcrafter and Spellcaster monster. You can activate each of her quick effects once per turn, each time a spell card effect or Witchcrafter monster effect is activated. You can either destroy a card on the field, special summon a level 6 or lower Witchcrafter monster from your hand or deck, or you can add back a Witchcrafter spell or trap from the graveyard back to the hand. Next, for the Xyz monsters, I play 2 copies of Downward Magician. This card gains 200 attack for each material it has, and if it attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage. If this card battles, detach a material. For the Spellcaster Link monsters, I play 1 copy of Relinquished Anima, 1 copy of Crowley, the First Profiteer, and 1 copy of Akashic Magician. Relinquished Anima can target a monster it points to and equip it to this card. This card gains attack equal to that monster. Crowley will let you normal summon a level 5 or higher spellcaster monster from your hand without tributing. Akashic Magician, when it is link summoned, it can return each monster it points to back to the hand. Its other effect doesn't ever come up because I've never been able to co-link it, but it's an option to have. Next, I play 5 Charmers for all the different attributes we play in the deck. I play 1 copy of Light Charmer, 1 Wind, 1 Water, 1 Fire, and 1 Earth. Now for the last 2 monsters, I play 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix and 1 copy of Nightmare Cerberus. Phoenix can discard a card to target a spell or trap your opponent controls, destroy it, and Cerberus can discard a card to target a special summon monster in the main monster zone and destroy it. Well, that is it for the deck profile. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if there is anything you like or didn't like, feel free to leave me a comment telling me what you think. Be sure to like the video if you did, and subscribe for more content. Thank you for your support. Have a great day.